Good evening, everybody. So, here is one of my first attempts at doing my creature profile video of one of the most basal quote-unquote vertebrates of my planet project, the creatures of Zhorim. So, I'm sure some of you have seen this before, but this is the Tikengo Clade. So this is a quick video on the life cycle and traits and habitats, adaptations, the niche, relatives, all that stuff about them. So starting off with traits, these guys are a very vaguely lizard-like looking animal, save for the 6 limbs instead of 4. This is a planet of hexapodal animals when it comes to the vertebrates. So they got a pair of hind limbs and then a pair of secondary hind limbs in the back behind them, and they are set more close to each other than it is to the hind limbs. So as for the life cycle, they are a mix. My plan was like a mix between like ray-finned fish and cat sharks, chondrichthyes, and amphibians like Urodella or frogs. So they have like a mix between all of those. Starts off with a egg, and so they have, it depends on the species, but each egg will have multiple embryos in there that develop, or less, and they resemble some shark eggs like zebra sharks or other cat sharks, I believe, which have those known by as mermaid purses, which those thread-like ends of each capsule, which is used mainly for making sure that it doesn't really get captured within the currents. But that is when it's in an ocean environment, and so the shape of the egg capsules will also vary depending on the location and the species. So when it's in calmer waters like brackish or freshwater streams or ponds, that's when it has a more screw-like shape of the capsule, like when you see in was it nurse sharks or was it something else? I forgot. Yeah, but they still have those threads in some egg capsules just to make sure it doesn't get swept away. So the that hangs on to like water plants or reeds or whatnot, and so most species of these, you got the egg and the embryo, which takes place in the same place, are both taking place within the capsule, and then once it emerges, it grows in size, and as a stage is what is known as a scully. So these guys are, they still have external gills, somewhat external gills. It depends on which species again, and usually 3 to 5 sets of gills, more akin to sharks of Earth. It still has very fin-like projections or of its quote-unquote limbs, though they're not fully developed. It usually feeds on small invertebrates and occasionally sea plants, and then after that it will develop into a juvenile, and this has more specially shaped fins, with the fins that are collapsible in most species, which is more similar to ray-finned fish, and it's able to hunt smaller fish and invertebrates, or perhaps smaller species of that clade. And then after the juvenile, we have the subadult, which is able to go on land and also the water. So the external gills and also most of the gills, except for one pair, are gone. And depending on the species, they might either develop into a complete adult, which can't breathe underwater anymore because the gills are gone, or in some species they stay as a subadult to keep the gills and have the lineage again develop to stay in the water. So habitat, they live in brackish and fresh water. This is a lineage that came from the sea. They're very shark and fish-like, but they are developing more to be freshwater and swamp-esque type of creatures. So swamps, bogs, marshes, streams. So with some males, they develop when they're adults very colorful structures on their fins to basically compete with each other to see which one has the brightest colors and which one is able to fend off another male. And then in some, you have them just doing their own thing, just doing it by, what was the word? Some do mate for life, depends on usually a larger species with more emphasis on fewer but more successful young. So locomotion. Since they got 6 limbs, they usually move in a similar manner with the side-to-side undulation, just like many lizards and amphibians on Earth, like salamanders in the order Urodela. So they move with, when they are juveniles, they tend to have their belly drag on the floor. When they're subadult to adults, they have their body raised higher on the ground with more developed abdominal muscles that are able to keep their bodies off the ground, and they have their secondary forelimbs follow relatively close behind the first when they're in their side-to-side motion, when they move pretty similar to a salamander or lizard. And then in the water, it's usually the same thing. With some Tikengos, they usually have an alternating swish of their primary and secondary fins, like in a subadult developed species. As for offense and defense, usually in smaller species, you'll see them usually bite or run away. They have lots of uniform and non-specialized teeth, so they'll bite or they'll push away or swim away and whatnot, usually pretty similar to like salamanders and small lizards and whatnot. When it comes to hunting, some species usually have, this is inspired by frogs and other salamanders. Some of them have a long tongue that they use to shoot out at a very fast speed to catch invertebrates and bugs mostly. So prey usually depends, there is a little bit of a niche partitioning when it comes to some species. They have, when they're a scully or a juvenile, fish or invertebrates, small fish, and some sea plants or algae once in a while. Subadults to adults, they usually hunt bugs and invertebrates on the land and or possibly the other species. They usually go for more of like a hardy type of carnivorous meal. So they hunt larger prey once they get to an adult stage. So as for geography, I haven't had my map that too developed yet, but they are in the more central parts of this planet, of course. As for the solar system, or planetary and solar system, works in a fairly similar way to our planet, so they usually stay in the middle, and in any freshwater places. So colors usually depends. Sometimes you got, with the sailfin Tikengo, you got a bright or a dark purple, which is in contrast to its green color, to have it more striking. So, and the eggs, when they're eggs in some species, they have a material that I just made up. It's called Tikengium, which is like kind of like a play on words to like a biological substance with the eum language. So that's the stuff that surrounds the eggs once they're in clumps of eggs in some species. And so as for behavior, they usually, it's, the same thing. It's just hangs around, usually in like a fairly solitary and what's the word? Immobile state. You'll see like frogs and salamanders. Sometimes they just sit there because they're not warm-blooded. There isn't any endothermy that is developed on this planet yet, so it's still pretty chill, I guess. Niches, for the most part, since it's pretty new, this niche is mostly just very salamander or small lizard-like. So still pretty in its early days. When it comes to predators, it's usually just each other, because they are just coming onto the land, so they're extrapolating new niches. And when it comes to the parental care, there is some here and there. Paternal care is something that's more common with this species. So sometimes you'll see, like with the African dwarf frog, or sorry, not African dwarf frog, the African bullfrog, you will see it actually stay for a good while and dig up holes of mud for more water to be in for its tadpoles. So, and I took some liberties with that, and so in some species you have the male stay, and in more drier spots it will also use its muscular forelimbs and secondary forelimbs to dig and give more of a chance for its numerous offspring to survive and not dry out. So, Father's Day gift, definitely for him. Let's see. Anything else I would like to... Relatives? Yeah, so you got the sailfin Tikengo, the spiny Tikengo, and the duosail Tikengo, which is a species that is actually subadult adept, as in it stayed in that stage to keep its collapsible fins, and uses that for its, to show off and to compete with other males of that stage, similar to the axolotl and other amphibians like the mud puppies, I believe. They stay in that stage just to stay in the water, and they usually have that ability since they stay, it's neoteny, so they stay in that neotenic stage, and then they have the benefits of having greater healing abilities since they're still very tadpole-like. But yeah, as for the jaw development of these, I would say that it doesn't have as dramatic of a change in jaw structure when it comes to amphibians, but in the embryo it does go through the most changes between the embryo and scatty. Whoops, I said scatty. Okay. Well, not gonna get rid of that one. Okay. But yes, it still stays mostly, I guess, describe it as like a shark. Very shark / lizard-like. And again, the point that I wanted was to make it look very similar to all three of these clades that I find pretty interesting. Looking at cat sharks or zebra sharks and amphibians, frogs, and ray-finned fish. Very interesting. I'll get more developments later. I'll get a lot of posts. And I have started school, so to anybody who has stayed just for the hybrid stuff, I'll probably be doing less of that. But, you know, if you decide to go your own way, I appreciate you staying a while for just a bit. But I'll be probably doing like more of my own stuff, just because I don't want to keep doing stuff that's always related to somebody else. But yeah, like more stuff I'll be talking about. I'll be posting about my characters, you know, the Elohim spiritual creature hybrids characters that I have, all the creatures I've made up. I'll be trying to do more creature profiles / bestiaries of my creatures that I've had, since I have a lot. I'm doing a lot of redraws of creatures that I made when I was young, and I've been loving doing all these interpretations and design changes and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, anyways, to anybody who goes to separate ways, I appreciate you looking at it, and I appreciate, man, 38 subscribers as far as making this video. That's cool. I like it. Thank you, everybody, for just sticking around to see what I got to say. Just love to put my thoughts out there. Me after saying this at the end of every video. But, you know, I just like to stress that this is what I like to do. I just like to put my thoughts out there and just see what people think. And I just love to gather information and get as accurate information as I can. So I've always loved talking and have certain thoughts and things that you feel passionate about. And yeah, so more profiles to come. It'll probably take a bit just because I'm bothering to like put some editing in these. So yeah, pictures and audios and little jokes here and there. Okay. Yeah. I'll probably tend to like make posts, I guess, with small corrections or add-ons to like certain videos I make. But again, I'm not going to have too much time for a bit. So if anybody who stays this time, appreciate it. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. Have a good night and or morning, evening, at whatever time you're watching this. And I'll see you next time.